All right, tonight we're doing the robe ornament. It says December 9th, Never Undone. Today's reading. One day, Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe, but his brothers hated Joseph because their father loved him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say a kind word to him. The brothers killed a young goat and dipped Joseph's robe in its blood. They sent the beautiful robe to their father with this message: "Look what we found. Doesn't this robe belong to your son?" Their father recognized it immediately. "Yes," he said, "it is my son's robe. A wild animal must have eaten him. Joseph has clearly been torn to pieces." But now that their father was dead, Joseph's brothers became fearful. "Now Joseph will show his anger and pay us back for all the wrong we did to him," they said. So they sent this message to Joseph: "Before our father died, he instructed us to say to you, 'Please forgive your brothers for the wrong they did to you, for their sin in treating you so cruelly. So we, the servants of the God of your father, beg you to forgive our sin.'" When Joseph received their message, he broke down and wept. Then his brothers came and threw themselves down before Joseph. "Look, we are your slaves," they said. But Joseph replied, "Don't be afraid of me. Am I God that I can punish you? You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to this place and this position so that I could save the lives of many people." Genesis 37, 3-4, 31-33, and 50, verses 15-20. There is a storming mess this side of heaven. There's this rising muck, and there's all of us. And still, there's this simultaneous global choreography that unfolds on the world stage anyway. String up a tangle of lights, set up a musty angel on top of the tree, deck the front porch and the back streets, and the whole tilted world in this twinkling robe, this tinseled robe. Watch how it all spins in the lit colors. Yet there is the robe's hem. There's always the blood-dirtied, dragging, hanging hem. There's always the ripped underside of things, the dreams and bits of us, and unspoken hopes of torn pieces. You can feel this in a torn-up world being torn apart. When you are brave, you give yourself the gift of facing and touching the torn places. The places where we've torn to pieces can be thin places where we touch the peace of God. Joseph touches his thin place. He feels along the edges of the torn places and sees through. You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. What was intended to tear you apart, God intends to set you apart. What has torn you, God makes a thin place to see glory. Whatever happens, whatever unfolds, whatever unravels, you can never be undone. You can stand around a Christmas tree with a family like Joseph's, with these cheaters and beaters and deceivers, with a family like Jacob's who ran away and ran around and ran folks down. But out of a family line that looks like a mess, God brings the Messiah. What was intended to harm, God intended all for good. And no matter what intends to harm you, God arms to have you. You can never be undone. No matter what intends to harm you, God is never absent, never impotent, never distant. You can never be undone. In the middle of all of our collective mess stands the most monstrous evil. The wood of the crochet lies torn apart behind the wood of the cross. The cries of the innocent babe under the stars of Bethlehem twist into the agonized cries of the innocent victim atop the injustice of Calvary. The holy dark over the manger gives way to the hideous dark over the Messiah, and the slamming hammer in the tearing vein, and the piercing thorn, the created murdering the Creator. The cross stands as an epitome of evil. And God takes the greatest evil ever known to humanity and turns it into the greatest gift you have ever known. If the worst things work for good to a believer, what shall the best things? Writes Puritan Thomas Watson. Nothing hurts the godly. All things shall co-operate for their good, that their crosses shall be turned into blessings. If God can transfigure the greatest evil into the greatest gift, then he intends to turn whatever you're experiencing now into a gift. You cannot be undone. Somewhere, Advent can storm and howl, and the world robed on Christmas can spin on. You, there, on the edge, whispering it, defiant through the torn places, all is grace. Unwrapping more of his gifts of love in the world. Just as Joseph forgave his brothers, think of one person you can forgive today. Write down that person's name on a piece of paper, and then write out your thanks to God for taking that evil and making it good, for his promise that no matter what is done to you, he will not let you be undone. And the quote for today is from Dietrich Bonhoeffer. A prison cell which one waits, hopes, and is completely dependent on the fact that the door of freedom has to be opened from the outside is not a bad picture of Advent. A moment for reflection questions to ask yourself. When have you seen God take what is torn and turn it into a gift? What evils are you experiencing now that you need God to transform into something good? In what areas of your life do you feel like you're coming unraveled? What would it feel like to have your Heavenly Father slip a robe of righteousness over your shoulders? All right. And with that, we're going to have Trey put the robe ornaments on the tree. All right, that was our message for tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow. As always, keep your focus on Jesus.